Thank you for tuning in to Auto Talk with Jazz. My name is Jasmine, and I am the host for this here podcast. Thank you so much for comment, liking, subscribing. If you have been, thank you for coming back. If you are brand new, welcome. Essentially, we are just, if you're new to the podcast, essentially what this podcast is just so we can kind of give a voice to those that don't have a voice and give tools and tricks to people who are trying to get into the industry, who have had to navigate the industry, things of that sort, and also to share stories and also interview people that might be able to give tools and tricks as well. So, welcome. Last episode, you heard my interview with Will Slatery, who is a certified sales professional who basically coaches, who goes to different dealerships and coaches how to maneuver to be the best, essentially, what they need to do in order to be successful as a company and also bring back returning clientele. And then the episode before that was a part of my mini series within this season where I kind of go into the shortage series, where we talk about some of the shortages that are happening in the automotive industry. Obviously, it probably happened with other industries, but it definitely happens with this one and ones that I can absolutely speak to. But today's episode, we are going to go a little bit more into why is it important to know yourself, a little bit of hinting or a little bit more on talking about what we talked about with the first episode of communication and the lack thereof and how it affects it, then about what Will Slater was kind of talking about. We get a little bit more detailed and into it about why knowing yourself is important, right? It all starts with you, essentially. You are the one that talks to the customer. You're the one who talks to the technicians. You're the one who gets all the information from everybody, or as the customer, you're the one who talks to the repair facility, and the repair facility has to then take what you say and try to figure out what is going on with the vehicle. So it is very important to know what you're going in and understand that how you communicate and how other people communicate are going to be two different situations. And once you understand that, I think it becomes better. It becomes easier to navigate the issue or navigate the situation. Understanding yourself. So I have a couple of stories, and obviously, I have nowhere near as many stories as other people, and sometimes I have more stories than other people. But when it comes down to knowing yourself, it also comes back to confidence. Do you have the confidence to be able to tell someone who probably doesn't think that you're telling the truth that this is what is needing to be done? This is what this is what needs to be done, right? You have to stand firm. You have to be confident about it, because people will tear you apart, whether it's people in the workplace or it is the customers. Either one, you will be torn apart if you don't understand yourself and understand what you're talking about. And that also comes back to your knowledge. Knowledge is power. Learning what you know, or learning more about what you think you know, is so important, because no matter how much you think you know, you can always learn more. Always. You never know everything. You cannot. One of the things that I always get told whenever I either receive a call or call out to repair facilities who are calling in claims, and it doesn't matter what week, what day, I always get this answer. Well, my technician's been a tech for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years. They know, as if you don't need to diagnose a vehicle to understand what's going on. Yeah, experience and time will make you know exactly, this little judder here versus here, or this shutter or this coat means this. But everybody knows vehicles will do the same thing for one thing multiple times. So you have to basically do elimination. what is causing this issue now versus what is causing this issue later. How can we figure that out? How is this going to affect the customer? How long is this going to take us? Okay, if we have this many cars, then what's going on? But knowing yourself, knowing your limitation, instead of pushing past that limitation that you don't have, trying to push past that limitation because you think there's going to be big money into it, is horrible, because it pisses the customer off. It pisses the whoever else off. If you're dealing with a warranty company, insurance company, wherever, it delays everything. It makes it where we don't trust you in any situation. Even if it's your boss may not trust you to do a car again. You may not, customer may never come back to you, and that means you probably lost a total of 6 people. Because there's always numbers, right? So if you like numbers, do this one. Every person that you talk to, if a customer comes in and you do something good for them, that means they're going to tell at least 6 people to come to you. That means 6 potential customers are going to come to you. When you do something bad, they're going to tell 20, because they're usually going to do it on social media. They're usually going to tell strangers. Then they're going to usually tell this. Then they're going to tell you that. Like, a lot of times bad news travel fast, because bad news usually is easier to be remembered, and bad situations are always usually the thing that gets told most of versus the good. That's just unfortunately how humans are. When something bad happens, we're telling the bad first. Then we'll tell the good, and if it continuously happens, then we'll tell more people the good stuff. But we never really start with good. We always start with bad. We're pessimists. We're not optimists most of the time. And it really does affect it. And the reason why I say that is the last repair facility I worked at, I went in not understanding or knowing how my lack of knowledge or my knowledge was going to affect the company. And the reason why I say that is because I went in with experience as a trainer for lube tech, for like basically your basic maintenance, so oil changes, rotates, and all that. Like, I went in with that knowledge of how to train someone on that. I went in with knowledge of being a advisor. I went in with knowledge of being just different types of people. In doing so, that gave me a chance to pretty quickly go from I believe they hired me on as a lube tech manager, even though they didn't have a lube tech place, to a tech trainee. And I was actually doing both. So I was juggling 2 major things at the same time. Well, then COVID happened. So then I went from that to juggling being a porter and being a second parts driver and doing this and doing that and doing this. And what I didn't realize was I didn't know myself enough to say stop. Because what I did was I put so much, I became limited. And what I mean by that is I gave myself so many jobs, and I let them give me so many jobs that I limited my growth by not trying to master one of those. And by the time I tried to master one of those, they didn't want me to master it. And so jobs will do that, where you try to just go back down to one, try to master and do this, and you now have shown them your abilities. And because you've shown them your abilities, when you take away from them not being able to use that ability, they take away it's like they take away your worth monetarily, not physically. You still are physically able to do those. You're not limited to learning those things, but you do get limited with the amount of money. So because I did all these jobs for $20 an hour, me only wanting to become a mainline tech, they only gave me $1 raise. Versus anybody else who was getting $3-4 raises, or a person who, because I only had 3 classes left to become a master tech under this manufacturer, they essentially only gave me $1 raise, even though I was going to take those classes literally within the month. And they didn't even say, oh yeah, we were going to give you this once you become a master tech. It was literally, you were just going to stay at $21 an hour. Partially because they were also overpaying for other people, but also they were essentially also trying to push me out, essentially, and they couldn't because then someone fucked up and put piss in a Powerade bottle by my desk. Even though they said it wasn't piss, it was most definitely piss. But knowing yourself, knowing the fact of what you can do, and not always showing all of your cards is beneficial to yourself, but also is one of those things where you knowing what your limitations are means that you can kind of help better assist the company with understanding, okay, listen, this is where I need help. This is who other people can do it, and you're actually willing to give that over to someone or ask for help if you're the only person who may be able to take it, because now shops have become more work and less workers. So now we have the issue of you have to take on jobs that you may not have taken on before, and that now becomes the issue of, am I willing to put myself in a situation where I will spend 20 hours on this one thing and only get paid 5 hours and not bitch about it, versus the opposite. And unfortunately, people nowadays don't have that mindset of, you don't always get paid for everything. You do lose money whenever you don't understand what you're doing, and you don't always get paid for every hour that you spend on something. It's just, unfortunately, that's how it is, because sometimes you'll make up the money later and other times you don't. It just depends also on the workflow and how much clientele comes in and everything of that sort. And it's one of those things where you do have to manage that and figure out, is this the best course of action? One of the ways that you can learn to better yourself, we are now at a time where we have so many tests that we can take, where it tells you your personality, your temperament, and how you communicate with people and all this. So you can always take those tests, and obviously it'll tell you a little bit more about yourself and be able to navigate what you can do. But the other thing that you can do is look back, reminisce on some of the things that you've done and see where you are. Or you can always ask for feedback. Constructive feedback is amazing. I know people don't like it. I know that sometimes it's rough and sometimes it's stupid. But constructive criticism really does help understand you, tell you where you are, where you need to be, where you want to be. And then allow you to be a lot more open to that. You being open to that feedback means that you in reality get to be better. And you get to find what your niche is. Like with podcasting, I promise you, if I put out the episodes that I have from before, what I have now is completely different. So much better. But I had to build my confidence. It's hard to sit here and look at me. Right now, I'm pretending like I'm talking to someone else. And I actually, if you look, my camera is here. My microphone is here. I have another one right here. That's not a bug. That's an actual microphone. See? And then there's a podcast microphone as well. And then you have, like, the reason why you probably see my eyes shift a little bit is because I'm actually looking at myself and being able to, like, talk to myself while understanding that other people are going to be listening to me soon or watching me soon. So I have to make sure I look nice and look okay and make sure the lights didn't dim because the sky outside is dim. Like, there's so many things that I know now that 2 years ago when I started this was different. And I say all that to say that some of these things was because I got constructive criticism from people on how my video looked, how my audio sounded, what do I need to do to better both of those? How can I better my editing? How far along do I need to wait for each episode? Okay, why is this important? Why is this not important? The reason why, if you looked at Killer Lyrics, I have what's called Killer Notes. It's all in the same journal, as a matter of fact. Hold on. Killer Lyrics. So this is an episode. And then here's like every episode is broken down. So like we're on this episode here. So when you see me kind of looking down, it's because I'm trying to figure out what topic am I supposed to talk about. And it's one of those things that I didn't do before then, because I started going to school for video production and learning this. So being able to better understand yourself, your limitations, and where to go for help is amazing. Ask for help. Build your community. Build your support system. My support system in automotive was not always at the place I was at. I built my support system. I have like 2 controllers that I go to all the time. Mo, oh my God. Mama Mo, hi. Mama Mo, amazing. I'm trying to get her on the podcast. Takes care of everybody. Another person who I sometimes talk to that is also going to be on the podcast, who I met because of the podcast, and always follow her, Sierra. She's amazing. Can't wait for y'all to hear her episode. Louisa, so amazing. She's in Australia. Sierra is actually in America. And I mean, and y'all, people who are listening and people who are part of the groups that I'm a part of for automotive, groups for schooling, for video production, for all that. This is my community that I had to build to better understand who I am, where am I going, what can I better myself as far as verbiage, as far as appearances, as far as verbal communication. Y'all tell me, y'all give me feedback, and I then use what y'all tell me or not use, because again, everybody has an opinion. It's just like an asshole, but you have to understand what is beneficial for you and what's not beneficial for you, and then move forward, and then accept the mistakes that you've made, and then move from there. You cannot grow without making mistakes, but you also have to understand you cannot grow by yourself. You have to have a community. So better yourself, ask those questions, look stuff up, research, communicate is the best way to do it, but also understand you bettering yourself betters everybody else around you, whether you see them the one time or 20 times. But you have to start it. All right? Good? Huh? All right, cool. Now listen. I could go on for hours for this and probably could have more stories. As a matter of fact, the next episode is going to be story time, where I tell y'all stories of what I had to go through through this whole thing of how I became who I became. Sorry, I'm like literally, I have lights on me. I don't know what's going on half of the time. And I'm losing my voice. I haven't eaten. I've done like 8 episodes right now, and I'm just like, ugh. But anyway, like, subscribe, follow. Let me know how you feel about this topic. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this one. Most definitely want to bring more people on who can kind of better talk about the fact of why understanding yourself is so important. As a matter of fact, the episode with Louisa hints about it a little bit more. And talks about building that confidence to better your communication, to better understand people. And even though we talk about shortages, my phone almost fell. That's what that was. I just didn't want to stop in the middle of the sentence. But how to better stand up for yourself and how that affects talking to other people. So we do go a little bit into that, but hers is more so talking about the shortage and how to use that to your advantage. And so I can't wait for y'all to hear that. That's a couple episodes later, but be prepared for that one. But like I said, like, subscribe, follow, all that. See y'all. Peace.